Welcome to Just Cook It Radio, hosted by Chef Mario Pareca and Bill Alexander. Just Cook It Radio is about food, life, and everything in between. And now, your hosts of Just Cook It Radio, Mario and Bill.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You are listening to Just Cook It on your local station, 590 Radio, WMBS, and also on FCTV, Channel 77, and at justcookit.tv. I am Mario Pareca. And again today, I'm joined by Bill Alexander, as I am every week, and also by Jim Morgan. He's back again.
He's here until Mike gets back from Germany.
Yeah, that's, and who knows what Mike's doing in Germany.
From what I understand, Mike may be living there now.
Hopefully he's having a good time.
Him and his dad, right?
But if he is living there, that would say that he is having a good time.
Right.
But so we have a very special show coming up today. The first thing I want to talk about is coming up in the third segment, but we did an interview. It was actually on October the 29th of 2012. It was almost a year to the day.
No, September 29th.
Oh, was it September? Yeah. I looked up my dates wrong.
You got your dates wrong.
Okay.
Because when I looked it up, I'm going, well, that's kind of odd. It's kind of cool, actually.
So a year and a month?
Yeah.
Well,
a year.
It was a year because today's September, right? So almost a year to the day. And
see, we don't plan this stuff in advance. We just we do it on our own, and then we just get together and talk about it.
It was this weekend.
Yes.
I mean, which is kind of odd.
Because we've been talking about it. We've been saying that we're going to do it. Now we're doing it.
Yeah. So what we're talking about is we aired back then the program was podcast only.
Yeah, when no one listened to it.
Well, some people listened to it.
All five.
We had a guest on from Libby's, the canned pumpkin, Roz O'Hearn.
Do I get to do my jingle?
You can. Please do.
Right now?
Do it right now.
You're sure?
I want you to, yes.
Okay. Everybody at home sitting around their kitchen table and your coffee, put your coffee down. Make sure you swallow the drink. Ready? Because I'm going to sing the jingle from Libby's from 1970s. If it's Libby's on the label, you will like it on the table. There you go. We got it done. It's out of the way.
I'm glad you got it right this time.
I know. I screwed it up before the interview, and you'll hear it, and it's so funny because I'm kicking myself going, I did it wrong. And I did it wrong to a Libby's representative. They know better.
But she didn't correct you.
No, she didn't, because I don't think she knew it either. Hey, one thing real quick, and I got to do the shout-out because we're going to get yelled at for it anyhow, but we're on Baby Watch this weekend.
Oh, yeah?
Did you know that?
I didn't.
FCTV's going live.
Oh,
Matt
is it this weekend?
Is sitting by his wife waiting to have their second one. So we're on Baby Watch this weekend. So anybody that knows Matt Dowling of Going Live with FCTV, one of our friends, we're wishing them luck.
Yes.
And everything comes out okay, and his wife is not in too much misery and pain.
Well, Matt will be by her side, so that should take care of that one. But yes,
the
best
part
of
being
luck
in
to
misery
them.
and pain, or relieving it.
Well, it's one of those things where when you compare something,
I got you. I got you.
But all kidding aside, best of luck to Matt, and look forward to meeting the new little one.
Yeah, so Pierce gets a little brother.
There you go.
Or sister, but I think it's a brother. Anyhow.
It'll be one of the two.
It's one of the two, yeah.
You got a 50-50 shot.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we have that interview with Roz coming up later in the program. You're going to want to hear that. It's all about pumpkin, all about how they can their pumpkin harvest. It's really, really interesting and going into pumpkin season because, Bill, today's show is all about pumpkin. Yep, so it's Pumpkin Day. Charlie Brown, the Great Pumpkin. And you wore your orange shirt.
Yes, I did. It was
in honor of today.
It's all appropriate, right.
That's good.
Yeah.
So another thing I want to talk about really quickly before we dive into pumpkin talk. Oh, even this whole week I feel like is Pumpkin Week.
Why is that?
Because even if you check, which will be coming out, which every other Friday is my column, my first starters column in the Herald Standard, this Friday it's all about pumpkin too.
Go figure.
So, I may have done a little planning.
Yeah, okay.
So
at least someone does.
Yeah, well, over this week I was testing recipes, and I think I came out with a good one.
Any idea what it's going to be yet? Or you
it's done.
Oh, what is it?
I have to write. I mean, the recipes are done. I have to write the column.
Yeah, but what are you making with pumpkin?
Well, for the first thing is a pumpkin. We're doing a pumpkin cocktail, believe it or not. So it's a cocktail with pumpkin in it. Okay, and that took about 3 or 4 tries to get right, but it came out really, really good actually. And it's got some caramel in there and pumpkin and some cider. So it's like a mouthful of fall.
A mouthful of fall. There you go.
And
market that one to Starbucks.
For the recipe, I did a pumpkin butter. So think about like apple butter.
Yeah.
So I did that with pumpkin.
Butter.
And I made some pumpkin bread, which just, anyway, you can use your recipe for pumpkin bread, but it goes great with pumpkin bread.
I was at a church picnic last Sunday. And in the interview, you'll hear me say, I love pumpkin roll. as a kid, I never had it until I met my wife, and which has been almost 20 years now. But her sister-in-law, my sister-in-law, makes it. And she makes a wonderful pumpkin roll, and I mean, I'm addicted to it. So Sunday, we're at this church picnic, and someone made what looked like spice cake. It wasn't. It was pumpkin cake. Instead of having a lot of icing on it, it had cream cheese on top of it. It was really good, and it had to be much easier to make than the pumpkin roll and rolling it and spreading all of it. It was just in a normal pan, cut in squares, and had a dollop of cream cheese on top. The icing. It was really good.
Yeah, it sounds good. I mean, that's you can do all with pumpkin. You can do all kinds of things. And pumpkin, it's just a squash.
Yeah.
It's actually in the same family as cucumbers and watermelon.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you can do pumpkin's very close relative is the butternut squash.
Yes.
So I mean,
well, we've told stories about the Duquesne Club and butternut squash.
Yeah, you can substitute butternut squash for pumpkin.
Would have never known that.
And if you get some of that fancy, if you go to the spice store, like the fancier spice stores, like in the Strip District in Pittsburgh, you can actually get pumpkin powder.
Oh, really?
Okay, that's a spice. So if you use, say it's not pumpkin season, you can get pumpkin powder all year round. Use butternut squash, use pumpkin powder to season it, and it tastes like pumpkin. So, but the taste between butternut squash and pumpkin is pretty negligible. It's not, it's not something that an untrained palate can really taste. The taste that everyone's used to when they think of pumpkin is pumpkin pie spice.
Right.
And it's the cinnamon, cloves, allspice, nutmeg, that whole mixture that people use. And it's not the spice itself really isn't cheap.
Yeah.
Really
well, pumpkin itself really doesn't have a very strong taste to it, does it?
No, it tastes like squash.
It's a mild taste. And last year at this time, on an episode of Going Live, you made a pumpkin tomato soup, which at first, when you told everybody you're making it, we just gave you just this look of, okay, that sounds interesting. And it was really good. I mean, it's one of my favorites. And that's when we got into the whole controversy about Velveeta and how to open the package, too.
the grilled cheese sandwich has to go with the tomato soup. But pumpkin lends itself very well to acid. So like tomatoes being acidic, and one of my favorite combinations, and you'll see these in my recipes coming up this week, is, believe it or not, pumpkin and lime juice.
Okay.
Like fresh squeezed lime. It just gives it this, it brings out more of a pumpkin flavor, and it gives it just this really clean and really good flavor that I really like. So pumpkin, it goes with apples, obviously, lime, vanilla. One of my favorite combinations, herb-wise, is sage. Pumpkin and sage go really well. And another thing I really like to pair pumpkin with a lot is hazelnuts.
Oh, really?
Pumpkin and hazelnuts.
Now, one thing I wanted to do this morning, and of course I ran out of the house a little bit late, and I didn't go through the cabinets to find it. I wanted to bring a can of pumpkin with me, because we've talked about this. Because in the interview, Roz tells us you can actually open the can, take a spoon, and eat it. And I wanted to try it. And I also wanted to get one of theirs. They have one that's actually pumpkin pie filling that's already done. And to me, that sounds great, that you could eat it out of the can like a pudding. I mean,
I don't know if you'd want to do that, but they have, but I prefer to make. It's really not hard to make pumpkin pie filling.
I know.
It's just pumpkin, sugar, eggs.
It's much easier when someone else does it, but I know.
Well, yeah, I mean, so it's one of those things where if you're going to make pumpkin pie, I always recommend just buying the can. You get the pumpkin in the can, half the work's already done for you. I mean, that's already the shortcut.
Could you imagine trying to make your own pumpkin pie from literally scratch with the pumpkin?
I've not made pumpkin pie because I wasn't really that much of a baker, but I've made almost everything from scratch. I've made pumpkin pasta from scratch, pumpkin gnocchi from scratch, pumpkin ravioli from scratch. And you have to roast the pumpkin first. You have to cut it, seed it, roast it. And the good thing about pumpkin is almost everything's usable. So you can roast the seeds, because everyone's eating pumpkin seeds. And you have those as a snack. But you take your pumpkin, you cut it in half, you scrape the seeds out, a little olive oil just to rub it down. And I usually use some salt, season it with some salt and pepper. I go in about a 375-degree oven. Usually takes about an hour, a little longer, but as soon as it's soft, almost like a baked potato, you think, when you feel it and it's soft, you can pull it out, let it sit for about 5 minutes, or maybe a little longer, till you can handle it with your hands without burning yourself and dropping it all over the floor, and then the flesh will just scrape right out with like a spoon out of the skin. So and then you can take that, what you scrape out, and put it in a food processor and process it into a puree, and that's what you get in the can essentially.
Right.
Libby's they steam their pumpkins. You can steam your pumpkin as well. If you have a little steamer or something you can put on your stove, and you steam it, the same way, cut it in half, seed it again, steam it, and then the flesh will come right out. And that's how Libby's does it. That's why if you ever look at the can of Libby's, like we talked about, and you'll hear in the interview, if you look at the ingredients, it's just pumpkin. Yeah. So because they take the pumpkins. Now the pumpkins Libby use, and I don't want to let Roz talk about this later, but they're not the orange ones that you carve like jack-o'-lanterns. Right. They look like eggs.
Yes, they're oval shaped.
But the flesh is still orange. It's really sweet, and it's good for obviously great for pumpkin pies because that's what everyone uses it for. But in my opinion, my recommendation, if you're going to use pumpkin, when I use pumpkin at home, I almost always use it from the can. The only time I don't use canned pumpkin is if I'm going to use the actual pumpkin itself as a serving vessel and I need the shell. Right. Or B, when I'm making like a baked pumpkin, when you can bake it and actually stuff it with certain things.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, you can stuff it with raisins and apples and all that stuff. Are you familiar with a Brown Betty?
Yes.
So you can make stuff it with Brown Betty, and there's a good dessert there. So. That's other than that, I use the canned stuff because it's convenient, it saves on time, and it's pumpkin. That's
and we know Roz, so it works out real well. Hey, we got to take a break.
We will be right back with more Just Cook It. Don't touch that radio dial. We have more pumpkin talk on the way. I have all kinds of things to talk about pumpkin, and then the third segment we'll have Roz on to talk more pumpkin. So again, stick with us, and Just Cook It is being served up to you today by the Big Barn Country Store and Deli, by Pareca Chiropractic Center, Inc., by 4th Street Barbecue, by the Herald Standard, and on FCTV by Phil Giannetti Motors.
And you're watching Just Cook It on Fayette TV, Channel 77, and also at justcookit.tv. And you're listening to Just Cook It Radio here on your local station, 590 Radio WMBS. Phil Giannetti Motors at 656 National Pike East in Brownsville is a proud sponsor of programming on FCTV. Phil Giannetti Motors providing quality vehicles for 45 years. If you're looking for a quality pre-owned vehicle, give Phil Giannetti's a call at 724-785-6800 or stop by their website, philgiannettymotors.com.
Hello, Fayette TV, and thank you for watching Just Cook It Radio right here on Channel 77. I am Mario Pareca.
And I'm Bill Alexander. If you like what you've seen so far, you can watch the program in its entirety at justcookit.tv for food, life, and everything in between.
Good to have you back. You're listening to Just Cook It on your local station, 590 Radio WMBS, and also on FCTV Channel 77, and at justcookit.tv. I am Mario Pareca. I'm here with Bill Alexander and Jim Morgan. And I want to throw out the numbers right off the top here because you can call us during this segment. It's, if you want to call us toll-free, 855-590-0590, or you can always call the station at 724-438-4593. Today's all about pumpkin. We're talking pumpkin for the rest of this program. And
well, it's kind of appropriate. Fall is here.
Yeah.
I mean, came in last Sunday, and now October is on Tuesday. And when we think of pumpkin, we think of Halloween.
I think of pumpkin spice latte.
Yeah, well, PSL 10, as some people have been calling it.
No, I mean, and honestly, I've had the pumpkin spice latte.
Yeah.
And I prefer black coffee.
I do
That's
too.
Just me.
My son likes it. My 13-year-old likes it.
I'm a purist. My mother loves it.
Yeah.
But I sent you a video on YouTube.
Yeah, and I didn't get to see it yet
this weekend. So when you get a chance, you'll have to watch it. It's basically it's a comedy sketch. It's it's supposed to be like a movie trailer, and it's about pumpkin spice taking over the world. and it really is taking over the world.
Yes,
I mean,
it is.
It goes to the point where it's driving us mad, and the guy's wife actually starts eating a pumpkin like an apple.
Well, if they're small enough, I'm sure you could just get through that first layer.
I wouldn't recommend it, but I hope she has a good dental plan. But pumpkin, there's so many different products now that are pumpkin spice, and I don't remember.
Pumpkin Pringles.
Yeah, we had those.
If you remember,
last year.
we talked about that last year.
And pumpkin M&Ms.
Yes.
And I don't remember pumpkin being as big as pumpkin is today until last year.
It was because of us, because we started this pumpkin craze.
That's my point.
And then we're going to get. Just wait, candy corn's going to be coming in next. which we probably should do the whole show next week. Well, maybe it's not a good idea. The
next
Heart
week's
Walk. Yeah, that's not a good
while
idea.
we're talking about that, let me remind everyone that we will be live at the Heart Walk next week.
So we can't do candy corn next week?
No, we're going to be talking heart healthy foods next week. Now, candy corn makes my heart feel good, but I don't know how healthy it is. Well, I do know how healthy it is. Not at all. But
in moderation.
Yeah, in moderation, it's fine, and they're little, so it's like it's like candy and a vegetable all rolled into one.
That's exactly.
Right?
It has the word corn, which corn
Right.
is in the vegetable. It's a grain, but still.
Well,
according to the last program, it's really bad for you because of the high fructose corn syrup. But anyhow, that's another problem.
Yeah,
anyway.
Let's not even get into that. I could do a whole show on that.
I know we can.
But pumpkin products. So I have a few products here I just want to talk about. This is how far pumpkin is getting. Has gone. Has gone.
How it's gone
still, it's
out
getting,
of control.
It's still moving.
Yeah.
And you'll see, I'm sure, new things. The first thing is they have soy milk. Pumpkin flavored soy milk. Now, I don't know a lot of people who drink soy milk to begin with. I know there are a fair amount out there. But really, pumpkin soy milk?
Well, but again, is it pumpkin, as I put it in air quotes, or is it pumpkin pie flavored?
Pumpkin pie. It's pumpkin spice.
Okay, so again,
Spice.
it's the whole idea, because if you just did pumpkin, it would taste like butternut squash.
Right. We have to have the spice.
Yeah, the
spice.
spice.
And that's the thing. Everyone loves spice.
Yeah.
And when you have that spice in there, that can mean, pumpkin spice doesn't mean there's pumpkin in it.
Yeah.
That means cinnamon, nutmeg, clove.
It'd be a little chunky if it was in it. So anyway.
Well, yeah. Chunky soy milk. You can't get enough.
Is that why
There's
it's
also
sour?
pumpkin spice Jell-O.
See,
well, it's not Jell-O. It's pudding. But Jell-O
that would be
makes it.
good. It would be like, I like that idea. That sounds
I'm
good.
not opposed to that one. That one could, because you think of the pumpkin pie. And it's
Right.
How about this one? Pumpkin spice bagels.
See, and I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah, I think that'd be with cream cheese.
With cream
Maybe
cheese, that'd be good.
They make pumpkin spice cream cheese too,
Right.
that you could use on your bagels. Or you could just get the Herald Standard next week on Friday, get my
Right.
column, and make pumpkin butter for your bagel.
That would be good too.
That would be excellent.
Yeah.
Then you have your pumpkin spice almonds.
I've had those. Those are
Planters.
pretty good too.
I've not. I have to try those. You have your pumpkin spice bars, your kashi bars.
Okay, I mean, we're pushing the edge.
How about
here.
your pumpkin spice creamer?
Well, which would
Coffee
make your
Mate
own
makes.
latte, yeah.
Then you have your pumpkin spice Hershey Kisses.
Again,
How about Entenmann's pumpkin loaf? I can get
is it bread?
Yeah, it's like, that butter pound cake they make.
Oh,
That
would
butter
be,
loaf they
so
do.
if you would do a cream cheese butter on that,
yeah,
that would be
that
good.
That one I can get down with.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Obviously, pumpkin spice cookie mix. How about this one?
Wait, go back to the pumpkin spice cookie mix.
Yeah.
Okay. In other
Betty
words, they
Crocker.
just look like peanut butter cookies
Yeah.
with. Okay,
They're
the
your
best
pumpkin
pumpkin cookie recipe is pumpkin chocolate chip cookies, which until I moved to this part of the state of Pennsylvania, which is from north of Pittsburgh down to here, never heard them before.
Well, I had this week, our local bakery had pumpkin cookies and with the brown sugar for frosting. And I'll tell you what, I probably ate a dozen of them. But they had raisins in them, which I really enjoyed.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
And it reminded me of like an oatmeal cookie. The texture was like that real soft pumpkin, but the flavor that I kind of like. I have had them with chocolate chips, and they are excellent. But I kind of prefer the raisins now.
Yeah, see, I'm a purist, and it's that big thing whenever we go on vacation at Thanksgiving. I mean, my sister-in-law makes Tupperware tubs of these, and we share one in each car that goes down, and we eat them while on our way down there.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing at all. So I'm a purist when it comes to that
I kind of
stuff.
relate it to almost like a carrot cake.
I
Because
like
you have your raisins in your carrot cake.
Or
When I had
spice
those
cake.
cookies, and then the raisins, it felt right.
How do you say that? Spice. Cake.
Spice.
Yeah.
It felt right. It felt like it
felt
belonged.
right.
Yeah, it just felt like we belong. Never mind.
Go.
Those are other issues.
That's the one I want to
Pumpkin pie
try.
Pop-Tarts.
That's the
now,
one I want
these
to
are
try.
pumpkin pie Pop-Tarts, not pumpkin spice.
But again, would kids eat that, or are they marketing it to the adult?
I would say a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I know kids who like pumpkin pie.
I guess my 13-year-old would.
And let's face it, everything Pop-Tart is marketed to a child because children love
but
Pop-Tarts.
But a lot of adults eat them because it's a quick way to get something in you in the morning on the way out the door.
Yeah, that's true.
Not that it's good for
No,
you, but it's a quick way to get something in you on the way out the door.
How about pumpkin spice, autumn spice tea?
That'd be good.
Tea bags you buy them at your local store. English muffins, pumpkin spice English muffins.
With
Again,
pumpkin
bagels. Now this one I can really get down with.
Okay.
Pumpkin spice pancake and waffle
Oh,
mix.
that'd be good.
I've had
So
pumpkin
far,
waffles.
I haven't heard anything really awful
No,
on there.
I love pumpkin waffles. Here's Godiva's pumpkin spice coffee. Ice. Now this is interesting. Williams-Sonoma makes a pumpkin ice cream starter. Now I've had pumpkin ice cream.
Ice cream, it's really good.
Pumpkin ice cream is good.
Again, more of it's a pumpkin spice ice cream.
There's a dairy. This actually says pumpkin ice cream. It's not pumpkin spice. There's a dairy in North Huntington.
Okay.
And they make pumpkin ice cream. And it's really, really good. I had it last year. It's good stuff. They make homemade ice creams. How about Jet Puff pumpkin spice marshmallows?
Yeah.
Talk about kicking your s'mores up, huh? You get your chocolate.
Great fall
spice.
activity. Bonfires.
Pumpkin spice fettuccine they make.
Okay, maybe we're starting to get a little bit too far now.
Now, pumpkin pasta I love.
Okay.
You can actually put pumpkin in the pasta. Pumpkin spice, that's taking the... When I think of pumpkin spice, I think more of...
I think dessert.
Or sweet.
I think dessert.
More sweet than savory. Pumpkin spice syrup, maple syrup for your pumpkin spice waffles.
So wait. You have maple syrup that's pumpkin spice flavored. Mm-hmm. Why would you ruin maple syrup that way?
That's a good question. Whenever I use maple syrup, I use the 100% pure.
Maple syrup.
Yeah. It's the organic, pure, 100% maple syrup. And any other syrup just doesn't taste like maple syrup to me anyway. And that's why I use that. A little more pricey, but a little bit goes a long way with that stuff. You don't have to put like a whole cereal bowl's worth of syrup on your pancakes. It's like they're not pancakes. They're cereal, but you're using syrup instead of milk. That's how most people...
I have a bottle of maple syrup that's in my cupboard. I haven't opened it yet. From Canada. That was given to me this summer by my niece who went up there.
Canada.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, okay, I can do that. I can try. I mean, isn't that real maple syrup when it comes from Canada?
Canada,
yeah. You knew I was going to say that.
Did you smuggle it in?
Yeah. No, I did not.
I may know some people.
They declared it when they came across the border.
Okay.
We have syrup.
So they did. You have to get out of your car and hold it up.
Hold it up.
I have.
The hood of the car. We have syrup.
Anyway, do you ever have a Canadian pumpkin?
No, what's it look like?
I would assume it looks like a pumpkin.
But I've never heard of one before.
Might be carve a maple leaf in it or something. How about Entenmann's also makes a harvest pumpkin donut?
That would be good too. Oh, I've been to Krispy Kreme and they've had pumpkin donuts.
Interesting.
And I think Dunkin' Donuts have pumpkin donuts too.
They do. I actually had one last week.
But again, would you do research for the program?
Well, every day's research for the program.
I guess that's
every
true,
meal
too.
you have. That's the great thing about what we do.
That's
meal
true.
we have is
it's
actually you can write it off.
Yeah, it's
the
so
IRS
much.
is coming after me now that
it's
I said
so
that.
much easier than doing political talk. I'm so glad I don't do that anymore. I don't have to yell at anybody.
Another until only it breaks. It breaks when you're talking to me. Anyway, when I also noticed at Target they're selling pumpkin spice M&Ms.
Yeah, I've seen that.
I haven't tried them yet.
I saw them too.
But they kind of scare me a little.
Now, the one thing we need to get out there to the audience right now, because we know it's going to happen again this year, and I know I'm jumping the gun. If you see candy corn Oreos,
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Please let us know, because last year we couldn't find them anywhere, and we were begging. We tried every other Oreo they made, but we weren't able to get candy corn.
That one.
The gingerbread ones were pretty good.
Yeah, they were.
They
were good. And so the next thing I want to do is continuing with this pumpkin spice. We talked about the lattes. They actually did a pumpkin spice latte battle.
Okay.
So they pitted Starbucks versus McDonald's versus Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay.
Because at McDonald's, I guess, just came out with their pumpkin spice.
They just released it this week.
And Dunkin' Donuts, I know, had theirs last year.
Right.
Because I remember trying it last year.
And Starbucks is the 10th anniversary.
Starbucks is the original.
Yeah, this is the 10th anniversary.
Yeah, they started it. So they pitted the three against each other, and from what they said, now honestly, like I said, I'm not a huge fan. I know almost everyone else is. I'm not a huge fan, but if I had to pick one, I'd probably go to Starbucks. But I would probably, if it was just solely coffee, if it was I had to go get one, I'm probably going to get Dunkin' Donuts just because I want the donut,
right.
Coffee aside. But Starbucks obviously is one. They said they're the best, and Starbucks is the only one that put whipped cream and cinnamon on top of their
which
latte,
is the way it should be.
Which is the way it should be. Dunkin' Donuts, it said markets that it puts the frothed milk on the top with a little drizzle of caramel, but they said they couldn't find it anywhere.
Okay.
Done that way. They said McDonald's came in second. It was a weak attempt, and Dunkin' Donuts was a distant third.
Well, and that would surprise me, because not that I know the ingredients they put in it. But thinking of being McDonald's and more fast food, it would be a prepackaged mix that they would use, while Starbucks would be more of the syrup and everything that they would put in it.
It also says, and I quote this, The drink's colors vary very wildly. Dunkin' Donuts drink is a dark brown, but Starbucks and McDonald's are violently orange.
Which is the way it should be.
Who knows how much of that's real? Real color.
And is there actually coffee in it, though? That's the other question, too.
Yeah, there's a latte, the way, in Starbucks terms, from what I understand, is a shot of espresso.
Right.
And then they froth the milk.
Well, you remember whenever, not espresso, but cappuccino became so big, and every gas station in the world put cappuccino machines in.
That's not real cappuccino.
And that's not real cappuccino. That's why I'm asking. Is that real lattes?
Yeah, I would,
assume.
Yeah.
But again, what's the definition of a latte?
Well, again, a latte is just coffee with frothed milk.
Right.
Steamed milk. Cappuccino is espresso with steamed milk. Now, what I believe, now don't quote me on this, but what I have always understood Starbucks does is they've always made their coffee stronger.
Yeah.
But I was always under the impression they use espresso and kind of water it down a little bit.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Which is basically coffee.
It is.
And then they put their milk into it. They steam it. Steamed milk. Froth milk cappuccino, steamed milk's a latte.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think. I'm not going to argue.
Pumpkin foods you can make at home. Here's your pumpkin cheesecake bars with chocolate topping.
That sounds good.
And I can post these recipes.
Yeah,
these
please do that, because I think it's a good idea.
These aren't my recipes. These are recipes I found, but I just wanted to talk some pumpkin recipes. Dulce de leche, pumpkin pie. One thing I want to talk about a little bit is all the different ways you can cook with pumpkin. Pumpkin mac and cheese we talked about, which is fantastic. I wouldn't use Velveeta for that, but
hey, why not?
I would use a nice white cheese, a nice maybe like a Fontina or something of that nature.
Right.
Pumpkin you can use like squash. So think of steamed squash, brown butter, caramelized. And again, I'll post the recipes that I found that we're talking about. But pumpkin bread, pumpkin butter. Just check out my column. Check out our website at justcookit.net, and you can get all that stuff.
And I think it's time we need to go talk to a pumpkin expert. So let's take our break, and we'll come back and talk to Roz.
Again, don't touch that radio dial. Coming right up in the third segment, we have Roz O'Hearn from Libby's, and the interview again actually ran
last year at this
time. And it's all about pumpkin. Hear about all the behind-the-scenes look at how that pumpkin gets in that can and what you're actually using. It's really interesting stuff. And Just Cook It is being served up to you today by the Big Barn Country Store in Delhi, by Pareka Chiropractic Center, Inc., by 4th Street Barbecue, and by the Herald Standard.
And you're watching Just Cook It on Fayette TV, Channel 77, and also at justcookit.tv. And you're listening to Just Cook It Radio here on your local station, 590 Radio, WMBS.
I'm very excited about this, Bill, because we talked about on the last show about pumpkins, and we talked about getting someone from Libby's, which is our favorite pumpkin, and to come on the show and talk about pumpkins, to expound on them more. We want to get a real expert on here as opposed to just the two of us with basic knowledge.
Hey, heck, I'm just excited that I get to sing the jingle again.
Do you want to go ahead and get it out of your system right
when
now?
When it says, Libby, on the table, you will like it on the label. There you go. So
fantastic. I think you missed your calling.
I did. But there's a reason I went into radio and not into music performance. I have a face for radio, as they say.
That's not true, Bill. I know you. It's okay. But, okay, so we are here with Roz O'Hearn, and Roz is from the Nestle Corporation, and Nestle is actually who manufactures Libby. So, Roz, how are you this morning?
Well, I'm very well this morning, and it's because you so nicely asked and explained that you like Libby so much that I said, okay, let's talk to these fellas.
Thank you. We do. We love Libby's. Pumpkin pies, pumpkin rolls. There's all kinds of things you could do, and you have an extensive background with canned pumpkin.
Well, that's true. I bake with canned pumpkin all through the year and, take all kinds of phone calls this time of year particularly from, lots of reporters like yourselves who are very interested in how the harvest is unfolding. And I'm happy to tell you that it is underway in Morton, Illinois. So that's where we have our facility where we pack the pumpkin. So we pick the pumpkin and we pack it generally within hours. And we have contracts with farmers 50 miles out in any direction from Morton, Illinois. And so we have several thousand acres under contract. We provide the seed, and these farmers are cultivating, getting that seed planted, and then we have our ag experts that are out watching the crop as it is developing and, offering advice and counsel to the farmers. And then when the pumpkins, start to be ready, that's when our team goes into the fields and we pick those pumpkins and get them into the plant. It's quite an interesting project. The facility only runs about 13 weeks out of the year.
Now, Roz, a question for you. You talk about this being a big time of the year for pumpkins and people using them. Is there another time of the year where it's just as being used as much as, say, the fall season, or is just the main time of the year that most people use pumpkin?
Well, I think everybody thinks of pumpkin during the fall baking season because of the tradition of Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. And so we see, an enormous amount of pumpkin sold in this last part of the year. But pumpkin is such a wonderful ingredient, and it's packed full of vitamins and antioxidants and fiber that we actually have seen that it's been called a superfood now, along with salmon and blueberries and yogurt. And we've seen our sales for pumpkin grow outside of what we consider fall or traditional baking season. And I think it's because people have discovered that you can use it in savory recipes as well as sweet recipes, and you can eat it straight out of the can. It's 100% pure pumpkin, and one of the favorite recipes that we have that we will serve for breakfast meetings, we'll take a good Greek yogurt and layer it into a parfait glass, and then do a layer of pumpkin, and then some granola, and repeat it. And, it's a delicious and very nourishing breakfast. And it's easy.
That's a great idea. And I wanted to bring up, my mother is a pumpkin fanatic. I mean, like you said, all year round thing. She's always loved pumpkin. Mm-hmm. The first thing I did when we decided we were going to do this was I went into her cabinet because I knew she would have a can of Libby's because she always has two. If she uses one, she goes out and buys another one. And
exactly.
All year round, always has a can. So I grabbed this can, and I was just looking at the ingredients, and the only ingredient on there is pumpkin.
That's right.
It's written in Spanish and it's written in English.
Yep.
So that's really cool, first and foremost. And you assured us before we started talking and started doing this interview that the pumpkins aren't grown in the can, right?
No.
Grown in Morton, Illinois, you said.
They're grown in the area surrounding Morton, Illinois, and the pumpkins we grow are a very different pumpkin than pumpkins that most people are familiar with. If you think pumpkins in fall, you generally think jack-o'-lantern pumpkins, the carving pumpkins, and those are big and they're round and they're really, really orange, and that's not what our pumpkins look like. Our pumpkins are smaller. They're generally around 20 pounds. They're oval, and they're paler in color. So, imagine a pale orange or maybe even almost like a buff color, like a folder that you might use in your office. It's a much paler looking pumpkin, but it's a very dense and meaty pumpkin. And so those pumpkins, I've had people tell me that they look like giant eggs laying out in the fields, as they're tumbled off the vine and they're ready to be picked up. But they are tremendous pumpkins for canning because they are so meaty.
Now, how many pumpkins does it take to put in one average can?
Well, it depends on the size of the pumpkin. And, this year our pumpkins are a little smaller because they've been struggling through the drought. But what I can tell you is that if you take all of the pumpkins that we harvest and you make 8-inch pies out of them, and you line up those pies, end to end, they would go from California to Connecticut and back 5 times.
Oh, wow.
So we pack a lot of pumpkin.
Can you tell me where that is so I can get in line and eat them? I mean, that sounds like a wonderful idea.
We're going to run it right through Solon, Ohio, where we're headquartered.
That's one of my things that I wait for every year is the pumpkin.
And then it goes out to Morton, of course, because when we are packing the pumpkin, we're running that facility 24 hours a day. So our people are harvesting the pumpkins. So we're going out into the fields with the tractors. We're bringing the pumpkins to the equipment, that is collecting them. There's a giant conveyor attached to a truck that, gathers all of the pumpkins out of the field. They come into our facility in Morton. We have a giant water plume. So those pumpkins are very gently unloaded. So the back end of the truck, elevates, and they very gently tumble into this water plume, so they're washed. And then we have people watching the pumpkins, as they're traveling down this plume, and we're testing the pumpkins. We're obviously checking to see what the meatiness is like. And then those pumpkins are broken up, and the pumpkins then go into a steaming process. So the seeds are removed by using a series of sieves. So the seeds and the skin are removed so that all you're left with is the pulp. And those seeds end up becoming the seed stock for the next year's harvest. So we pick the beautiful pumpkins and we save the seed from the very best, which become the next year's crop.
Wow, that's really interesting. And you guys, so you control all your own seeds from year to year too, which is really, really cool, because then you know basically what you're going to get every year, pumpkin-wise, as far as quality and, basically keeping it in the family, right?
Exactly. And so this is a Dickinson pumpkin. This is what we call it. Okay. It's a strain of the Dickinson pumpkin, but because we've had it within our control for so many years, we call it the Libby's Select. And so, the seed that we are providing to the farmers is indeed that Libby's Select seed.
Now,
that's Libby's a very special strain.
Libby's has been canning pumpkin for how long?
Since the early 1900s. And that pumpkin recipe that is on the can, the classic pumpkin recipe, I think has been on the can for 75 years, something like that.
Wow. And the pumpkin recipe in the can has remained the same ever since Libby started, correct?
It has, and it's if you've ever baked a pumpkin pie, it's a relatively easy recipe to follow. But I think what is so nice about that recipe is the spices and the seasonings that are added to it give you a very nicely balanced pumpkin pie. And if you just follow those instructions, you're going to have a successful pie. You can visit our website, which is verybestbaking.com, and just click on the Libby's logo, and you'll find lots of tips coming out of our Nestle Test Kitchen. My friend Jenny Harper runs the test kitchen, and one of the best tips that she offers is, you're going to let your pie cool. You open the oven door, you let the pie gradually cool. But if you get a crack in your pumpkin pie, you should not fret. You just simply cover it with whipped cream. There's no problem with it.
I think I'm going to start covering every crack I see with whipped cream. I love it. That's a fantastic idea. But I was actually at the website yesterday. And I was actually on your YouTube channel. You guys have a YouTube channel, Very Best Baking. That's the name of the channel. And there's some great instructional videos on there. There's one about how to make a pumpkin pie, where she takes you all the way through from beginning to end. There's one about the pumpkin roll, which is one of my favorites.
It's delicious,
I love the
isn't it?
Pumpkin roll.
Yep.
It's fantastic. And there's also a video about the whole growing process, about how you guys grow pumpkins, and it kind of shows here and there little steps along the way, which I thought was very interesting. But that brings me to my next question. You are obviously very well-versed in pumpkin. You've seen a lot, and you're friends with the lady of the test kitchen. Number one, how do I get into that test kitchen to taste that? And number two, what's your favorite food made with pumpkin to make and eat?
My favorite pumpkin recipe to eat is the pumpkin roll. I love pumpkin pie. I have pumpkin pie, throughout the year, but I love that pumpkin roll with the cream cheese frosting. I think it looks so elegant when it's served, and it's really another very easy recipe. You just have to understand how to roll that cake while it's still warm, so that you can then unroll it to load it up with that frosting, and then, dust it with powdered sugar or whatever you'd like. I take that thing to family gatherings for Thanksgiving, and I'm always applauded because it looks kind of hard to make, but it's really pretty easy, and it's so delicious. So I love to eat that one. I like to make it, but the thing that I make most frequently are pumpkin muffins. And I got to tell you, my whole family loves them, and there's something, I think, just wonderfully comforting about knowing that, this is a great ingredient. It's 100% pumpkin right out of the can. The recipe's going to work because we triple test all of our recipes that are posted on our website. And, they're portable. My kids can take them. They freeze well. They're nice to pull out when you've got a visitor and you're having coffee. I mean, they're just delicious, and they're easy.
What's interesting, Mario, it sounds like she's been listening to the program, because I think you and I said the same thing about the pumpkin roll in the last episode.
It's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah.
I love pumpkin rolls. It's one of my all-time favorite desserts.
Do you make them with the nuts in the crust or not?
Of course. Is there?
Well, that was Roz O'Hearn. We talked to her from... That's not the full interview. You can listen to the full interview if you go to our website, which is www.justcookit.net. We will be uploading that within the next day or so. So if you want to hear the rest of the interview with Roz, all about pumpkins from Libby's, you can just go to justcookit.net. You can listen to it there. You can get all our social media there. Find everything from Bill and I right there at justcookit.net. So I want to thank everyone for listening. Hope you enjoyed our show on pumpkins. I want to remind you that next Saturday at 9 a.m. we will be broadcasting live from the Heart Walk. So we will be talking heart-healthy foods, and it should be a lot of fun to be out in the fresh air and live on location. I want to thank Bill for being here today, and as every week. And I want to thank Jim Morgan for another fun episode, having him on board here while Mike Sackley is away. It's a lot of fun. It's great to have a radio pro in the or two radio pros actually in the studio with me, so I can learn and get my wings, so to speak. But thank you very much for listening. We will be back next week live from the Heart Walk with more Just Cook It, talking heart healthy foods. And don't forget to visit us at justcookit.net. And above all, don't forget to just cook it. Have a great week. Go Buccos, and we will talk to you next week.
You have been listening to Just Cook It Radio with Mario Pareca and Bill Alexander. For more information on this program and how to download it as a podcast, go to justcookitradio.com. If you have any questions or comments about the show, please call us at 1-855-590-0590.
This has been a $1 Million Baby production.
Hello, Fayette TV, and thank you for watching Just Cook It Radio right here on Channel 77. I am Mario Pareca.
And I'm Bill Alexander. If you like what you've seen so far, you can watch the program in its entirety at justcookit.tv for food, life, and everything in between.